Yeah. Please tell me that I can't, that I won't, that I fail, that I'll never make it out, yeah. Please tell me all the bad, never good, fill my head full of every single doubt, yeah. Please say any negative thoughts, I pop off when I hear people say I cannot. I get off to the thought of proving everyone wrong, I won't stop to the top, so you better back off and get lost.
This is Nathan from RunDreamAchieve.com. Hope you all are having a great start of your week. Today's topic I wanted to go over how to improve upon your 5K run time. And the 5K is such a difficult race. It's a great race in terms of being able to really compete against your competitors and get across that finish line in your record time. But at the same time, it's only 3.1 miles or 5 kilometers. So highly anaerobic event, and you have to train strategically. It involves a great deal of speed development. You have to focus on improving your body's lactate tolerance. Again, the shorter the race, the more speed that's involved, but also you have to focus on the other fundamentals that go into you being able to sustain 3.1 miles or 5 kilometers at your goal 5K run race pace. In terms of my own competing, I ran a PR 14:18 for the 5K distance, so obviously I do understand the complexities of this particular event and the importance of you being patient in terms of getting into race shape, getting into that golden moment when you get across the finish line in your goal race time, and being able to sustain your goal race pace for the entire distance of your race. I always tell athletes when they're training for the 5K, always do your best to hold back that first mile and really attack in the last 2.1 miles. Make it a 2.1 mile race. That's just one tip, one little thing that you can do. Perhaps in the past you've went out way too aggressive in the first 4 laps of the race, or if you're on the road, you're running way too anaerobic the first mile because it's so fast, it's very easy to get caught up with the group and to take off going too anaerobic. You go under oxygen debt, and then you really pay for it in the last 2.1 miles. You can't make as many mistakes in a 5K as opposed to the marathon distance or the 10 mile or the half marathon distance, because again, those types of races you can go out a little too fast and kind of adjust and make up for it, and because it's a longer race. But in the 5K you have to be very smart in terms of your pacing early on. So 5K training is the same really as marathon training. Just the fact that there's more speed involved, but you still have to focus on doing those consistent long runs on a consistent daily, or at the end of each week, not running long, slow, and easy every single weekend. Doing those faster, very paced long runs followed the following week by an easy, relaxed long run. The hard training is going to take everything out of you in terms of in terms of being your physical capabilities as well as your mental capabilities. So you want to make sure that you pay attention to jogging on easy days. That's my next tip. Make sure that you're jogging on those easy days as you're training for your 5K run. Recovery is absolutely critical, whether you're training for a 5K or the marathon distance, especially if you're trying to get a new personal best over the 5 kilometer distance. And so you still have to pay attention to long runs. You still have to pay attention to training at a higher intensity for a longer period of time during your volume, during your total volume for the week. Like I always talk about in other videos, the best middle to long distance runners run about 40% of their weekly volume at very high anaerobic efforts. So of course they make racing look easy. It's not just because they're Kenyan or they're Japanese or from Ethiopia or another top runner from other parts of the world. They're training very strategically, and they're being very consistent and very strategic in how they set up their training. If you're training for a 5K run, preferably the longer that you can train for your goal race, the better. So I have training plans on RunDreamAchieve.com for 8 weeks, 12 weeks, and 16 weeks. You can still run a great 5K time in a matter of training for 8 weeks. But if you can, and you can link that out for 16 weeks, you're going to be even more prepared to really run your best race. Paying attention to ice baths, getting massage. If you have any type of chronic fatigue or chronic muscular issues or things like that, you have to really pay attention to doing remedies that are really going to pay off. And I think a lot of the times acupuncture, dry needling, are really great options in terms of, especially if you have like a knot in somewhere on your body. Maybe it's your QLs or your calves. I've had issues like that over the years too. Make sure that you catch those things along the way quickly and act on them. After every hard training, do the very best you can, especially when you're training for the 5K. Do the best you can to get an ice bath or to get a massage, once or twice a week. Those types of things will make sure that you continue to recover from the hard anaerobic workouts you're doing. As I talk about in other videos, the 5K is not drastically different than training for a 10K or a half marathon or marathon. The race distances are obviously, the 5K is much more anaerobic as opposed to the marathon, which is highly aerobic. But that being said, you still have to be cognizant of how you're putting your training together. So one VO2 max workout per week is absolutely essential, especially a VO2 max, because again, you want to make sure that you train in a way to get that 5K race pace to feel somewhat easier. Regardless how fit we are, you're going to be very tired and in a great deal of pain in a 5,000, because again, it's so quick, but it's a great race. It's over very quick, but it's also very exciting to be able to be out there competing against athletes that are equal to or much better than you on the roads or on the track. Next tip: do not compare yourself with what other runners are doing. Focus on what you are doing yourself. How can you get your body and your mind in cohesion to you're on the start line, you're relaxed, and you get to that finish line in your goal 5K run personal best time. And I've experienced what it's like to run the 5K as well. I ran 15:46 as a high school senior on the roads for 5K. Ended up running 15:19 for 5,000 meters on the track when I was in college, and ended up eventually running 14:18 for 5 kilometers on the roads as a professional. Really, the 5K distance when I was earlier in my career, I think the 5K distance on the track when I was in college was probably my weakest event. I was more of a miler, 800 miler, 2-miler. Getting in some 1-mile races, getting in some 2-mile races, or doing some time trials on the track, either at the 1-mile or 2-mile distance. All of those times when you're training and you're preparing yourself to race and you're running at much, much faster paces than you're planning to run for the 5K, it's going to make you that much more dangerous when it comes to the race, because you're going to be able to go out aggressive, but you're also going to have planned how you are going to attack in that race so that you really turn the screws in those last 8 laps of the race when everybody else is really going to be hurting. Because again, it's very easy to go out with the leaders, but if you're not prepared, no one is going to win the race in the first mile unless they can handle it, unless they can sustain that pace and really pick it up. So those are some of the tips I really want you thinking about in terms of your 5K run training. I think also lengthening your tempo runs. I think getting that tempo run out to around 4 to 5 miles, preferably about 5 miles or 8 kilometers, is going to really build your confidence too, because again, you're going further than you're planning on racing at over the 5,000 meter distance. And that can help a lot psychologically as well. What's great too is you can still spend a great deal of time training at the anaerobic threshold or the lactate threshold, as opposed to training at your VO2 max, where we can only spend a few seconds to a few minutes at that particular effort. If you want to know a little bit more about lactate threshold and how to improve that, go back and watch the video I just made on Sunday on how to improve your lactate threshold. I think that will help you out in terms of whether you're training for the mile or up to the marathon or 50K or ultra marathon distance. Regardless how, if you're more of a middle distance runner, training at your anaerobic threshold can really help you out. But even if you're training for the longer distance, it's absolutely essential as well to really train longer periods of time at that particular effort, because we're going to be racing right around our anaerobic threshold or slightly above that particular effort. You're running right around 88 to 90% of your maximum heart rate. And so doing that is key. Running longer. Next tip, get out on your feet and spend more time on your feet as well. It's hard when you're not in great shape to get out and to want to run fast, but you're not in that great of shape. So you have to be patient. It takes about 3 to 4 weeks for your body to adapt to any stressor you're placing on the body. So If you're overweight currently, or you're not at your race weight, just be patient. That the pounds will melt off. You'll get to a point where you're running at the same heart rate you were running earlier on in your training phase, but as you get fitter, your pace is going to drastically increase, and you're still running at that same heart rate, but the heart doesn't have to work as hard, so you're running at a much faster pace, and you're also much more effective and much more efficient at clearing that lactic acid when you're running at faster paces, as opposed to when you first started a 5K run, build up, train for your 5K run, whether it's 8, 12, or 16 weeks, you're going to be running much slower early on. So it's very key to not lose your enthusiasm. Okay, just know that it happens to all of us, happens to me, happens to other much, much better athletes than me. And, there's world-class athletes that have to experience the same things of getting back into shape, and to want to take off, but know, they can only really handle a few minutes at the pace they really want to handle before they start slowing down. So just allow yourself time to adapt to what you're doing, and you're going to run a great 5,000. The taper phase is key as well. Make sure that you do a 10-day taper rather than dropping your volume and your intensity 3 weeks out from your main race. It's fine to do some time trials, whether you're doing a 1 mile, 2 mile, or 5K time trial during your build-up. Sometimes you can use time trials as race efforts, just to test to see where you're at. That's fine, but also pay attention to jogging on those recovery days, making sure that you're really taking it easy and allowing your body time to really adapt to those really hard track sessions and road workouts that you're doing. It takes, I always did, when I did a track workout for a 5K, preparing for my 5K races or road races, I would always give myself about 2 days rest between each hard anaerobic workout that I did. So I hope these tips are helpful for you in terms of leading you up to your 5K run. But like I said, make sure that you do a 10-day taper. Start doing a 10-day taper in your, leading up to your future races. There are a lot of resources on RunDreamAchieve.com. I got training plans, running courses, monthly coaching that are there for you as well. But I do think that if you follow a plan, it takes the guesswork out of your preparation. Instead of guessing what type of workout you need to be doing, or how many miles a week or how many kilometers a week you need to be doing, you have something set in place, and you know exactly what you need to be doing on a daily, monthly, basis, and that helps as well. It takes the stress out of wondering, like, well, I guess I'll do, repeat thousands today, or maybe tomorrow I'll do some, a light tempo. You know exactly what you need to be doing, regardless if you're trying to run a 15-minute 5K or you're trying to break a 35-minute 5K. So if you have any questions regarding the 5K distance, something I didn't cover in this video, make sure to leave me a comment below. I always respond. I'd like to know where you all are at currently in your 5K. What's your current 5K time, and where do you truly want to go? What is your dream time? Let me know in the comment section below. I'd like to hear, and I will definitely respond to you too, because like I said, sometimes we place our own limits on what we think we can do for a distance. And I've had that same experience myself. I never would have thought, if you would have told me back when I was in high school, that I would hold 5:19 mile pace for 26.2 miles or run a 14:18 5K. I probably would have looked at you like you were nuts, because I just didn't think I could run it that fast at that time. So consistency is key. It makes you dangerous. A lot of people will work hard for a certain amount of time and then they'll quit. You have to be willing to endure for a long enough period of time to get the best possible results and to be the best possible athlete that you can be. I'll talk to you in the next video.